Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of One Pod Life. This week I'm talking to Alps Tour player Marcus Mohr. Since turning pro in 2015, he actually qualified for the EuroPro. He's actually then gone on and played on the Challenge Tour and is now currently playing on the Alps Tour during this wonderful pandemic we're going through. Now, he's not had the easiest of routes to become a professional golfer, but in his own way, he's found his way to play golf. And I look forward to talking to him about his 4-hole rule, or his 1 hour rule as he calls it. And yeah, just generally talk about how he got into golf and how he's prospering so far. So sit tight and listen to the next episode of One Pod Life with Marcus Mohr. Welcome to the One Pod Life podcast, Marcus. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on. You're
welcome. And right now you are in Italy, from what you told me.
Yeah, I'm in the Italian hills just north of Rome, playing a 3-day event on the Alps Tour at the moment. So It was day one today. Course is very tight, very championship layout. Pretty much lost ball if you hit it offline on 12 of the tees. All the par threes are 200, 230. So it's a day at the beach, really.
Well, how did you get on?
Shot 1 under, which is one shot away from top 10. Yeah, it was. I'm just going into this event, and I was doing really well with the irons and wedges and putting, but my long game was a little bit awry. So it was kind of managing that and knowing, going into. I think it's always important to go into a round of golf, thinking a little bit about how your practice has been, and then what you're actually capable of in the moment. And I don't think a lot of people do that enough.
No. Okay, well, there's a good tip straight off the bat. Make sure you know where your game is.
Yeah, I think it's like I always use a 4-hole rule as well. So say if you start the first 4 holes and you're playing great, you're flushing it, you're hitting every shot perfect or pretty good, and you're under your handicap or you're under par, and if you're a pro, and the 5th hole is you're just going to go for the shot that you see. However, if you've started off and you've maybe missed the fairway right 3 times out of 4, and you've 3-putted once because you've left yourself with a 50-footer, then you need to attach your ego to what you're doing off the tee and try and manage that so you get it in play, so you're not hitting your irons from the rough, which is obviously it's harder to get it close from the rough than it is the fairway. So really, in play game management is a big one that I'm sort of thinking about consciously at the moment. Sort of where the shot pattern, like if I'm hitting a fade or a draw or just little adjustments in the moment.
Well, I guess a lot of golfers or professional golfers as well will do that on the range, wouldn't they? So you see it on, I think I read once that Garcia will go to the range and will hit balls, and he'll see what shot shape he's playing that day, and he will take that shot shape onto the course instead of trying to fight it. Just go, okay, well, that's where I'm at today, and that's how I'm going to play.
Yeah, there's different levels to that, because obviously Sergio, say if he's hitting a fade, it's probably like an 8-yard fade, but he might hit a 12-yard fade for one day, but and then a 3-yard fade the next day. But us mere mortals, I mean, I actually rehearse trying to draw the ball, but I know, gun to my head, if I need to hit one, it's going left to right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a few shots today, I aimed down the left, felt a draw, knowing that it would fade, because of that was my shot for the day. And it's so hard to do, but it required total commitment and total commitment to the strike and the feel, knowing that you haven't got any control of what it's going to do when it gets to the top of its flight, really. And just trying to get the ball in play. But I think, it's just using what you've done over the last, even if you give it an hour, 1 hour rule, 4-hole rule, whatever it is, just constant little adjustments to say, I hit that last driver that hit was perfect. So, and I've got driver on this hole, so let's do it again. Brilliant. All systems go. But that last driver that I've hit and it's gone 40 yards right, I need to do something. So let's try and make the subtle adjustments. And that's all it is at the end of the day. Subtle adjustments to create this end score that you want.
No, definitely. Well, we can start the podcast right there, I think. No, I'm joking. Anyway, look, you're from a little place called Ellesmere Port.
Yeah.
And you actually started playing golf when you was 15 years old. So,
yeah.
Could you talk us into how or why you got into golf?
Well, I was in school, and my dad got me this half set of clubs one Christmas because, I was a teenager. I had an Xbox, never used it. I was quite outdoorsy, so he said, "Oh, get it." So he spotted a cheap half set of clubs, and I didn't use them for 6 months. I never watched golf, never even knew what it was, never touched a club, and I didn't use them for 6 months. So we went to the driving range, and I just slowly got into it. It was like a Saturday morning thing between like 10 and 12 or something. And then just went on the range, went on the 9-hole chip and putt, and then it just escalated to I had my first job was a greenkeeper because a family member knew someone at this golf course, and I just said, I wasn't very, I wasn't going to be in, full-time education. So I was very much sort of outdoorsy, hands-on kind of person. And my first job was working 5 a.m. till midday. And obviously I wasn't old enough to drive. So when my mum or dad could pick me up at like 4 o'clock, I had to do something, and it was sort of hitting golf balls and practicing on the golf course that I was working at. Minimum wage when you're 16. And then I kind of just I joined. I remember I joined a golf course. I was off. My first handicap was 21, and then I got down to like 14 pretty quick. And then when I was off 12, I remember I said to my dad, and this is ridiculous thinking back, I said, I want to be a professional golfer. And he didn't have a clue what to say. Like, what do you say? Like, all right, so I think my dad sort of went down the route of asking, professionals and, PJ professionals, what the hell is going on? What do I do? Yeah. And it was just a case of playing at clubs, playing it in the try and be the best in the club, try and be the best try and get picked for the county, try and be the best in the county, and then change, play a variety of courses and just learning and practicing. And I think the best thing one of the few things I've got is the ability to, I won't leave a practice session until I've got it. And I mean that I'm that person who hits, I've hit over 1,000 balls in one go with one club. Yeah. I've done it into the net, and just that sheer desire to try and get better, try and improve in some way. And I've got no problem with doing the same thing over and over again, with obviously trying to learn the game. And, you'd regularly just play, you'd hit 500 balls, play 36 holes and ask for more. But just quantity. I don't think it was quality practice, but the quantity. Because if you hit, if someone's hit 100,000 balls in their life, they're going to beat someone who's hit 1,000 balls in their life. Yeah. So I just have that sort of, I guess it's called, people say it's work ethic or obsession. You wake up thinking about it and you go to bed thinking about it. And it was obviously hard as an amateur. So I wasn't even that good as an amateur. I think I won a couple of times up and down the country. Maybe won one 72-hole event down in southeast of England, Royal St George's. But I had this sort of blanket. I still have it really. I have this blanket view of going, it doesn't matter my level now. I'm gonna get better, and that's all that matters. So it was just that constant desire and need to improve in some way, and know that you're going to get there if you just, it's hard to stop someone who doesn't give up.
No. And I guess, some people would say that hitting 1,000 golf balls is probably not in a day, for example, like you said you've done before, isn't the best route to go down. But they also you can talk about the 10,000 hours sort of situation as well. If you do something 10,000 hours, you're going to be good at it. So, but I'm in the same sort of realm as you. I don't think I've ever hit 1,000 balls in one day. I think I've hit about 200. But I am very much. I will go to the range repeatedly to work on something, and I will keep going and keep going and keep going until I've got it. I won't. And I get. And you said about waking up, thinking about it, and going to bed thinking about it. That's what I do as well. So maybe I'm a bit crazy, but But no, I think
keep going. You could be a pro one day.
But well, that's the plan. But I think there is merit to you just keep persevering and working on the things that you've laid out and planned out. They will come true, and you will then get to where you want to get to.
Yeah, I think the happiness, or like a deep happiness, comes from the work that you put in any walk of life. I mean, looking back on it now, I would still say to my younger self, hit those 1,000 balls. I've hit 2,000 balls is the most I've ever hit in one session. Probably took me about 6 hours, something like that, 7 hours. But I've hit a lot less balls, but been there for 10 hours. Yep. So I think there's a time and a place for that. Like now, I can, I'm at the stage where I can narrow down what I'm doing within just a few balls. So that saves you energy, and that saves you, your mentality really, to know that this is the shape, and this is your tendency. So this is what you need to do. And then it's speaking with your coach and being more refined with how you're looking to either straighten that ball flight out or strike it better or whatever it is. Just, it's learning quicker, but there's definitely a place for the younger golfer, and that's what I don't see very often now. It's young golfers, I say young, teenagers, mid-teens. I don't see them there for 10 hours. You ask all the, like, I'm 30 now, and I could name 10 golfers who are really good, not on European Tour, but who put in so much work. And I think with teenagers now, it's kind of, or younger people now, it's kind of, they've got so many different avenues to go down. It's so easy to look on a phone. It's so easy to get distracted. All I had was, like 9 buckets of balls, and that was it.
Yeah. No, I think it's right. Well, I was reading an article about yourself. The title was Pro Golfer from Ilsmore Port, 6 helpers he owns for the top. And I was reading through it, and it was just reading through it. It was like, wow, this is a story and a half. Like trying to get basically enough funds to sort of fund yourself way through golf, and it was quite interesting. So I was wondering if you can sort of elaborate on that a little bit and then sort of explain.
I don't come from a particularly affluent background. I live in a semi-detached house with my parents, and I always sort of, as soon as I left school, it was like, because you naturally leave school and you work, I said that, I wanted to play golf, and that was mostly in the summer up and down the country in like elite amateur events. So I basically got at least 2, sometimes 3 jobs in the winter, worked as much as I can. And the sort of that whole decision, I think people don't make a decision a lot of the time. They're like, oh, I'm going to kind of do this, I'm going to kind of do that, I'm going to dilute my focus and on a few different areas. It's like if you've got a cup of water and you've got a cup of water and 1 sunflower seed versus someone who's got a cup of water and 1,000 sunflower seeds. The sunflower seed with the 1 sunflower seed is going to do a lot better than the 1,000 sunflower seeds. So I really never, ever, ever give it a second thought about having a plan B. Never had a plan B.
Right, okay.
I said, this is, I kind of just made the decision and said, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And just went forward. I've never, I've sought sponsorship, but when I haven't got it, it's okay, because I'll find a way. If I have to get my tour card to finish, for a tour to play on next year, I've done it. I think the first year I was on Alps Tour, that was 2017. I had to finish 2 top 10s in a row to get through to the final event and keep my card.
Okay.
And I finished ninth and 6th, and then went back to work the next year. And then the year after, I got top 5 in the Challenge Tour. Sorry, I got top 5 in the Alps Tour, which gave me my Challenge Tour card for 2019. But that was, working in the winter as well. So there are a lot of things that you can't do if you choose to sort of pursue something like this. You obviously can't get a mortgage because you haven't got that stable sort of, whatever the requirement is, £1,000 coming into your bank account every month. Unless you're very fortunate. I play with some golfers. They are so wealthy. It's ridiculous. And I just think, if they had more grit and determination, because they're better golfers than me, but they don't have like naturally more talented. Because I'm not, one of them guys that you look at and go, he is ridiculously. He's just I've had to work an awful lot to flush a golf ball. But again, that's like, it comes back around, and you're you're sort of a whole person because you've earned everything that you've got, even though it might not be much to some people, but you just constantly want to improve, and you take nothing for granted. Just when I decided to I wanted to be a tour pro, one year, well, it was 2016, mate. It was it's a good story actually, short one, but I didn't have much money. I decided that I wanted to go to this Q school in December, and this Q school cost £500 to go. And at the same time, my membership for a golf course was due, and it was £500, £560 or something. And I asked the golf club to say, basically, can you help me out? And they said no. Long story short, so I was like, well, fuck, I'm up shit creek here. So I obviously put my money on Q school. So, and I went and I got my card, and I didn't have anywhere to practice over the winter. And I normally work. I've always worked. As soon as I left school, I worked 2 or 3 jobs over the winter just to save up enough money to go and play. And then so I didn't have a golf course to play. So I approached my local gym that I knew the guy, and I said, if I get a net and a mat, can I practice in the net indoors? If while the classes aren't on, it's a really small gym and that. So he basically gave me my own key, and I didn't have a net and a mat. So I walked into a company called Net World Sport, which is sort of North Wales. It's where it is, and I told them a story, and I was like, and they gave me a net. I still didn't have a mat at this point, but I was blown away that they gave me a net.
Yeah, definitely.
So a few days later, a friend of mine said I should go and see this head pro at a golf course in North Wales called Pagers and Buckley, and I walked in the pro shop, never met this guy before. Within 20 minutes, I was on the back of a greenkeeper's buggy in the middle of a driving range, digging up an old mat, and that was the mat that Nice. I've still got it now. So yeah. It's so good because we see a ball flight all the time, constantly, and we constantly, whether we like it or not, we react to that ball flight. It's hard to actually change your swing, and the best thing that it happened to me was that I wasn't able to see a ball flight, so I could just make my swing, try and make it perfect, basically. And the mark of my measure of success was how well it looked on a camera,
So you turned pro back in 2015. And am I right in saying you qualified straight away for the EuroPro Tour?
Yeah, I went to Q school at Mottram Hall. First event as a pro. I think I was the only one who broke par for 2 days in a row. Won it.
Wow.
got to final stage, but never did anything after that. Never didn't really do anything. Won a couple of one-day events, but shutter shootouts, it didn't really mean anything. Yep. So it was just kind of learning, because I always, even I'm getting better at it now, but I always sort of go to the golf course in tournaments with like a humble, like, I know I'm human and I hit it offline kind of thing. I'm not one of them big brash, like I'm just going to hit it perfect and hold every putt.
Yep.
Not one of them people. But I just sort of took my time to learn about the pro game, because it is the difference between even third tier pro game and elite amateur. The difference is ridiculous.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, you hit a good shot, like a really good iron shot into the green, and you're lucky if you just get a mutter from your playing partners. Because it's just it's just kind of expected, really. So then, I went to. That was the end of 2016. I sort of went. I said, "This is the decision. I'll either Alps Tour Q School in December, or paying for a membership." Now that's a hard decision to make. You're comfy at your club, but I remember saying to myself, staying at the golf club ain't going to get me on the European Tour, is it?
No.
So I packed my bags and I went, and thank God I finished 22nd, and there was 25 cards available at La Cala in Spain, in southern Spain, and it was 2 stages. I think I finished 3rd in the first stage, and then final stage I finished 22nd, 23rd out of 25 cards available, and it was like 200 entries. So that was the first moment where I thought, I can play.
No, good stuff.
I didn't really have a good technique at the time. I just sort of found a way to get it in.
Well, like you said, you learn the pro game. You learn how to play golf, basically, to get it round and put a score together.
That was the big thing. I used to think you had to play, like, hit it perfect and do everything amazingly well to shoot a score. And then I started playing with these pros, and yes, some of them just vaporized the golf ball, but some of them, like especially the older ones, they just sort of like, they didn't hit it very well, but came off, and I'm like, as a young lad, I'm like, how have you beaten me?
Yeah.
Me being naive at the time, I just went, how have you beaten me? And now I'm thinking, it's just a matter of getting it somewhere in it like golf is just hitting the ball to a designated spot, isn't it? So it's
100%.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've started to learn a little bit from a very, very amateur sort of point of view. I think personally, you can get down. I've done it myself. You can get to a point where you get too wrapped up in technique and how straight can I hit the golf ball, and oh no, I've hit I've hooked that, or that's too much of a fade. It doesn't really matter as long as you've got that's your game, and that's how you hit the golf ball, and you get it around a golf course in the least many shots as possible. You're playing golf. You don't have to aspire and have your swing look like Rory McIlroy or all the others. Obviously, we'd all love that, but at the end of the day, it's just get that little white ball around the golf course.
We all love that, but they have the same issues as us.
Yep.
They're like the top guys in the world. They still have the same issues. They're just a little bit more precise. That's it. But I think a thing that I did, I remember whenever I came in contact with a golfer who was better than me, which was an awful lot, I used to just really ask that situation. So I used to really I never missed an opportunity to ask a better player for some advice over something. Yep. And it's just built up. Anytime you ever get the chance to even watch someone hit balls, and it was good. Last week I was practicing at my home course in Cheshire. Mm-hmm. And my short game coach, actually, I was hitting balls. My short game coach said to a junior, he said, this lad's name was Ollie. He said, Ollie, you want to watch, just have 5 minutes and watch Marcus hit balls. He's been a pro. He's a pro, and he's been playing for 12 years. Look how meticulous he is when he's hitting balls. Mm-hmm. And it's that kind of, intensity and knowledge that kid wouldn't have seen. So it helped him hit balls a little bit better, with a little bit more precise thought before he hits it.
Well, on that note, I just recently played with Emily Slater, who was on my podcast quite a few weeks ago. And I literally just watched everything she did from the point of view that one thing I did notice, and something I've really got to work on, is pre-shot routine. She did not break a pre-shot routine on every shot she played. Even if something distracted her, she stepped off it and she went back to it again. Now, I've seen it. I've seen people do it, but I've never seen them do it so meticulously as she did. And I'm like, well, if she's doing it, why am I not doing it? And like you said, you can learn so much from just watching these people and watching professional golfers up close and taking it on board and transferring it to your game.
That's the thing with watching golf. You just see the shot, but what leads up to the shot is like the best thing that we can have is constants. So the golf club is a constant. The line on the ball when you put in is a constant. Your routine is a constant. It takes work, but you really do get the rewards if you do sort of, I think they used to call it a 40-second sanctuary of the pre-shot routine. You do the same thing every time. It'll get you in the best possible mindset to almost give you the permission to go and hit a shot.
Good stuff.
And I think if you've done everything you can in the pre-shot routine, it'll help you deal with the consequences after you've hit it.
No, you're right. Okay, so the Alps Tour. I don't really know much about the Alps Tour. It's not something I've looked into, but you've been on it, you've been playing on it. You've played on it quite a while, haven't you, really?
I had 2 years. I had 2 years on it, which is, it's good that I graduated, because if you get top 5 on it, you get promoted to the Challenge Tour. Yeah. So it's pretty good that I did it in my second attempt, which is my biggest achievement, alongside with winning, but a year-long order of merit to come top 5 on the continent. Out of, I think the order of merit goes down to like 200 people. Right, okay. So that's my biggest achievement. And was that the year that you won the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, the Open de San Francois? Yeah, that one. I still don't even ever entertain trying to pronounce that. That's the year. And last year, and then I got promoted to Challenge Tour, and now I'm sort of in between the two, obviously, with what's happening in the world with rankings and COVID and everything. So just sort of biding my time, trying to get better. But the Alps Tours, I said to myself, do you want to play on the European Tour? Yeah. Okay, brilliant. You're not going to do that if you're going to drive up and down the country playing EuroPro. There's no disrespect to EuroPro. I really like the tour. Yep. However, I'm not. If I'm at an event and I have a crap couple of rounds, I can just drive home. Yeah. The commitment to fly and be in this country and deal with finishing 100th in an event or whatever, and then not being able to fly home for another 2 days, that toughens you up. That makes you work harder. Makes you, and I think traveling is a form of it's self growth. And it really, booking a flight, booking a hire car, booking an Airbnb, cooking for yourself, that was the best decision I've ever made, or one of them. No, definitely. I think as well, it gives you a taster of also what that's not the right word, but what elite pro life would be like with all the travel that goes on with it, traveling from country to country, tournament to tournament. It's funny. I put some stuff on Instagram and my story, and just to try and keep things up to date. And people say, "Oh, you live the dream. You do this, you do that. You see beautiful parts of the world." I'm like, "Yeah, but it took so much work. It's unbelievable." No, the first thing, people don't see the work in the background, do they? They just see the end result. And that's kind of what I'm trying to hope to show people with the podcast is that these guys are professional golfers, but how do they actually get there? And then talk about the ups and downs and what they're doing daily to kind of keep that constant of being a professional golfer as well. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, so you got your 3-day tournament at the moment that you're playing in. You said today you shot 1 under. You're just outside the top 10. So what would be your mentality going into tomorrow's round? See, this is where This is like the conversation where your mate tells you, I'll go first so you can be aggressive at the putt. Right. I always try and do exactly the same thing every day. Right, okay. I know my strengths and my weaknesses this week. I know them overall, so actually it helps me go out there and play. And I'm starting on the 10th hole tomorrow, and it's literally compile around, play chess, do what you do. I've got to do what I have to. Almost, it's hard to kind of articulate, but you've got to self-manage myself tomorrow really well. And the better I do that is going to give me the opportunity to shoot a good score. Okay. And this course is going to beat you up. It is brutal off the tee. It's the toughest test that we've got this year off the tee. My strength has always been my tee ball, but this week it's eluded me. So if I start firing on all cylinders off the tee, then I'm good to go. If I don't, I'll be clever enough to make the decision at the moment. Like practice round, I hit driver up the 5th, and it's 450 par 4, and it's 40 yards between outbounds and lost ball. Right. That is world-class narrowness. Yep. But I knew if I hit 3-iron off the tee, it would. So kind of like reverse psychology. If I hit 3-iron off the tee, it would need to be a perfect 3-iron. That doesn't put me under pressure. It just makes me go into sort of like a heightened state of awareness. So I have to hit that shot. Yeah. So I hit that shot, and I knew it would be the equivalent of a 6 or 7-iron into the green. And a par on that hole is so good today because of the wind and the situation and basically the difficulty of the hole. So that's exactly what I did. Don't get me wrong, I did bowls a couple of holes up, but I made enough birdies to outweigh the bogeys. Yeah. No, so I never, the only thing I can do is try and make the best routine or system and swing on the 10th tee, and then the 10th, the approach shot on the 10th, and then the putt. So I don't really. Obviously, I'd like to sit on here and say, I'm really going to just try and shoot 6 under, but it doesn't quite happen like that. No, it doesn't. That's not really in my control. It's kind of, I've just got to do the best routine and try and make the best decision in the moment with my knowledge of what's happening on the day, and use the 4-hole rule.
One of the things I also do on the podcast is also get an idea of, if you were to give advice to any sort of aspiring or amateur golfer coming through the ranks trying to get onto the tour. You've alluded to a couple of them already, but if you was to give some really sort of 3 top tips on how these guys should be, I don't know, what's the word, practicing, or if they should be doing it on a daily basis, what would those sort of 3 tips be?
It depends what stage they're at. Say, as I say, if I spoke about before, if they're young, 36 holes a day, 500 balls, quantity over quality, like literally quantity over quality. Yep. But then it gets into the precise, competitive, there should be always a reason for your practice. Now, once you're at a certain level, like even if you're off 10, there should be, if you're going to go for a bucket of balls, it has to be quality, and it has to be only one thing. People are at a practice session trying to do so many different things. Work on one thing. If you can do your block practice and try and drill in a 7-iron and get good at one shot, as in if whatever your stock shot is, whether it's dead straight, a little bit right to left, or a little bit left to right, whatever it is, get amazing at it. There's no point in hitting, because golf's so hard, it actually makes it quite simple. If you get good at one thing, you will not be very far away from potentially being good at this game. If you can just hit, people try and draw it to left flags and fade it to right flags. For me personally, absolute waste of time, because I'm not good enough to shape a ball on will every time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't. Otherwise, I'd be leading the PGA Tour or the Merit.
Yeah.
So if you can get good at one thing, so when you put in start line and read, that's it. Because read equals pace. If you can read a green, you don't have to worry about pace because the right read equals the pace.
Yep.
Your start line with your putting, wedges, the only thing you have to worry about. You're not gonna hit a wedge that far offline. It's just distance control. How well can you control distance? And with the irons and driver, it's just one shot. Just don't overcomplicate it. How many times, do you have to shape a tee shot? You don't. No. How many times do you have to shape an iron shot? You don't.
No.
So don't make it so complicated. Just get good at one thing. That is the top three. I can't think of the other two at the moment, but the top one bit of advice is I played with a 16 years old. 16 years old. He plays off 6. Mm-hmm. 3 holes in, he's tried to hit 2 fades, a low draw, and a stinger. And I said to him, "Why are you trying to shape it so much?" And he went, "Well, that shot required this, that shot required that." Yes, that's great to have the imagination to do that, and he should be doing that at times. But when he's playing, in a competition, your biggest attribute is just that you're just on a circle, on a system, and you're just going through your checkpoints, and you're just repeatedly hitting that one shot, same shot all the time, that 2-yard fade, whatever it is. Just get good at one thing, because if you're good at one shot, the straight one, let's say it's straight, the dispersion in the shot is going to be a lot less than if you shape the shots all different ways. So just do that.
No, good stuff. Oh, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I think it was Claude Harmon III actually said they actually asked him the same sort of question: if you can give a tip to any aspiring golfer, and he said get good at one thing. If you can get good at one thing, the rest of it will then fall into place, because you can always rely back onto it, and then you're good to go. So, sound
Claude
advice there.
He needs to hit me up in my DMs, doesn't he?
He does, doesn't he? Good stuff. Well, look, Marcus, I don't want to keep you any longer, because you've got your game in the morning, and I want you to be fully rested for that. I know it's an hour ahead from where we are right now. So, mate, thank you for coming on and taking out a little bit of time to talk to me about yourself and your journey so far, and any advice you can give to anybody. I think there's some really good stuff in there. And
absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on.
So that was Marcus Mohr. I think you'll agree with me, that was a pretty informative talk, talking about everything about golf, his philosophy and how he takes his approach to playing. And some really good tips in there as well about how you should really just focus on one thing and get good. Now head over to Instagram and give Marcus a follow. His handle is Marcus Mohr Golf, or you can just click on the bio in this little podcast that I'm putting out, and give him a little follow and see how he gets on with his progress throughout the rest of the year. And like always, you can always follow me on Instagram, OnePuttLife. Or also, if you listen to the podcast, why don't you head over to whatever platform you're listening to and give it a review, and let me know what you think of the podcast so far. Now I won't keep it any longer. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of One Pod Life, and I'll speak to you soon.